Hello, thank you for pressing play on this episode. I'm grateful that you've bothered, honestly. It can be hard sometimes. Something a bit weird in and of itself, I suppose, is that sometimes you refresh your podcast feed and shows you've listened to for years, with hosts you love, can irritate you. Sometimes you just refresh and say, oh, Christ, you again? Enough already. So, as I say, I do appreciate you taking that step, pushing play, and then listening to me talking. Although you may now be regretting that choice of pressing play and listen to me talking, as now I'm talking about you taking that step of pressing play and listening to me talking, when I should just be getting on with talking. A quick warning, this episode is with good old Monty, who now lives in Canada, and we take a look at some weird Canadian things. I hope it doesn't offend any Canadian people listening, but I was thinking about this. Good journalists always give right of reply to the subjects of their articles, right? So, if you're offended by some Canadian things we talk about here, what I welcome you to do is make your own bit weird episode about Australia. You and a couple of mates get together and just talk about all the weird stuff about Australia. You can have a right hoot having a laugh at Aussie oddities, and then send that recording through and I'll put it out on this feed. See? That's even. That's fair. If you are extra offended and want to be super specific, you could do a whole episode on boring middle-aged podcasters whose intros are way too long. That should be a good 35, 40-minute episode, I think. Some of you may be thinking, you give a trigger warning in this ep, but no trigger warning on your Easter episode where you make fun of religion? Bit odd maybe, mate? Perhaps, but also fuck off, is what I say to that. If you are religious and offended by this show, I would invite you to, perhaps research your religion a little deeper. There's plenty to be offended about on that side of things. Why not make up a column? Why not make up a spreadsheet with a couple of columns? Offensive things people say or do towards religion on one side, and offensive things religion has said or done to others on the other side, and we'll see how those columns stack up once you fill them out. Yes, religion itself is one big trigger warning for some people, I would say. What I'm trying to say here, in a fairly unorthodox way, is here's a Canada-themed episode of Weird Stuff with Monty. Monty, hello.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
Oh, good. It's great to have you back on the Bit Weird But Fair Enough, I guess, podcast. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been heaps long. When do you reckon was the last one we recorded? Maybe like 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
2 years ago, or maybe 3, because I skipped a year in there somewhere.
What do you mean? Like you, as a human, skipped a year? You swept up sleep for a year?
Well, that'd be weird.
Yeah.
That'd be a good thing to base a podcast around as well. No, 2022...
just sounds of you snoring for half an hour once a week.
2022 was quite a fucked year for me, work-wise. It was insane. I don't think I did much podcast-wise at all that year.
COVID came late for you.
Well, yeah, and I was reflecting on this podcast. This started in 2020. I went back and had a listen to a couple of early apps, and I'm rambling at the start of the apps about toilet paper shortages and all that sort of thing. So that kind of feels like a long time ago now.
Man, the days of toilet paper shortages, that was some time ago, wasn't it? I can't believe it started then. I thought we did this before COVID.
Nope. No, 2020.
Wow.
It might be any number of our other brilliant podcasts.
Yeah. Pick one.
What's the Go? Welcome to the Television. Dad Pants. Yeah,
a good bunch of pods.
So the reason we haven't heard from you for a while is because A, you're a father looking after young children and working and all the rest of it, but B, also because you left the country and went and moved to Canada.
I did, but it wasn't pod related. I didn't move because I didn't like recording the pods. There were other larger factors at play. But yes, I have moved to Canada, and I'll tell you what, mate, it's a bit weird over here as well. The bit weird is universal.
Nice. Thanks very much. Yeah, we've decided to take advantage of Monty's inside information on that country over there and talk about some weird Canadian stuff today.
Yeah.
And the first thing I noticed when we got online here was the size of the beer can Monty was drinking. That was a bit weird.
I actually went to the beer shop this afternoon and saw a far larger can and thought to myself, wow, that's a really big can. And so these cans are like, I think it was about a litre in a can. But the can was...
What?
But yeah, it was a litre in a can, but the can was no girthier than your regular can. It had only taken the liquid.
Was it a metre tall?
Yeah, it was very tall. It took up like 2 levels of a freezer, a fridge.
Yeah, well, how's that practical for a fridge?
I don't know. It seemed very impractical. There was a lot of disused space because of the giant can.
All right, well, I don't think we're getting weirder than that.
Nah.
We're done here.
Close the shop, mate. We're done. Yeah, giant cans of beer.
Why are they so big?
Looked like good beer. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But you know what? Speaking of a bit weird, at the bottle store I went to too, they had beer for dogs.
What?
Yeah, I thought it was super weird. It's just a kind of malt beverage that's non-alcoholic for animals to drink. But the whole kind of...
They need that.
I know. Well, the whole premise is so that you can have a beer with your dog. Every like, fucking just give him a water. Like, he doesn't know. It's like, so weird, hey? Like, that's weird. That's
Are people
weird.
that lonely in Canada?
Right? Or that into their dogs? I don't know what it says about this place, but yeah, pretty weird.
Yeah, all right. Well, you're a man who's into his dogs. Have you noticed people being even more into their dogs than you are over there?
You know what? No. And it kind of would make sense the other way. Like in Australia, in where I was from, you could take dogs into pubs. Can't do that here. They wouldn't have a dog in a pub here. That's
so you can have beer for dogs, but they can't go into the pub to drink it.
Okay, that brings me on to another weird thing about Canada. The different stores that allow animals in, it's really bizarre. Like, so there's a store here called Canadian Tire, which it does sell tires, but it also sells everything else, right? Like everything. It's kind of like Bunnings and Kmart combined. Like it's got a lot of building material, but also you can get your groceries there. It's weird. It's weird. But you can take your dog in there, but you can't take your dog into a supermarket. But they sell everything that a supermarket sells in that Canadian Tire. Another store you can take your dog into is Winners, which is a discount clothing store. But that's about it. And dogs can go to the pet store, which makes sense, I suppose. That's kind of more legit. But yeah, the other one's a bit odd.
Oh, sorry. I was wondering what the odds would have been on hearing the sentence, another store you can't take your dog to.
Yeah, I'm not an odds maker.
Yeah. So are these laws or are these policies, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they probably act as laws, like you would be told to leave the store if you try to bring your dog into another store.
It's the law of the store.
Yeah, store law.
Store law. Well, while we're talking law, can I throw some weird Canadian laws I found at you? And
you're a king of the transition, mate. That was fantastic.
Oh, well, I did start talking about a thing and then said, while we're talking about that thing, let's keep talking about that thing. But
that's the job, man. That's it. You got it.
Yeah. But perhaps you can tell us whether any of these, A, impact your life, or B, have the potential to impact your life as a newly minted Canadian man.
Okay, but just for 1 second, I'm not a newly minted Canadian man. I am a permanent resident. So if somehow we become the 51st state of America, I could definitely be kicked out.
Oh, right. You could be deported.
I assume.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, we'll welcome you back here. That's fine.
Yeah, sweet. I'm still a citizen of that fair nation.
Yeah. I suppose it's handy to have kind of international marriages in case a bizarre dictator takes over one of the countries. You can always flee to the other.
Yeah, but what happens if you say like let's go Hungarian and American? You're fucked. You've got two shitty right-wing dictators in both. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Well. All right. Weird laws, huh?
Yeah, please.
A? Sorry. Shouldn't do that.
I'm Canadian and I'm also from Canada. It's a good one.
All right. Here's a weird law. It's around how you pay for purchases with coins.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You're only allowed by Canadian law, apparently, to use a maximum of 25 loonies.
Yeah, okay.
Have you heard what a loonie before?
Of course. Yeah, so currency in this country is loonies and toonies.
What?
Yeah. A loonie.
All right, that's bizarre enough of itself. The dollar's called a loonie?
Yeah, because the dollar coin has the bird a loon on it.
Right.
So he's a loony, and then everyone was smart and called a $2 a toonie.
Okay.
So loonies and toonies.
Very good. Well done, Canadians. I can respect that.
How many loonies can I pay for something with?
25's the maximum. So if you're buying something worth $26 and you try and slide 26 loonies across the table, that's illegal. Do
you think I could go with 25 loonies and 2 or 4? They don't have 50-cent pieces here, which pisses me off. I don't know why they don't. I love the 50-cent piece.
So here's the thing.
Perfect denomination.
Is this going to happen to all podcasts where I bring you something weird and you trumpet with something off the top of your head that's even weirder?
I think before we did this episode, I think that's what we hoped for. Even if we didn't say it out loud, that's kind of where we knew this was going.
But, okay. But I see, because I understand having a law. Maybe not a law, like store policy, again, would be fine rather than putting it through, Houses of Parliament.
Yeah.
To restrict the number of coins you use. But you're telling me that there's no 50-cent coin?
Well, look, this is another great transition, but we will stay on the laws, but can also do maybe a preview of later. But one of the weird things about Canada is their adoption of the metric system, but also their kind of adherence to the imperial system. Because of the proximity to America, so they are fucking bipolar about how they measure everything. So, like, liquid is measured in ounces. Officially, it's not. It definitely is not. It is a metric country, but no one knows anything about metric liquid. It is all ounces and gallons, I suppose, except petrol. Petrol is litres. I don't know why. Yeah. Weight is done completely in pounds. Height is done in feet, but car speed is done in kilometres. They're fucking super weird. Yeah, I
wish you'd told me not to bother writing a rundown of weird stuff about Canada and you would just sit there and talk.
Yeah, all you got to do is say words and then I'll come up with something weird about Canada about it. But stuff that I just take for granted now that's like, you know what's a good one that's kind of not too weird and I think Australia should take it up. And it's one of those ones that's just taken for granted here, but like isn't actually that granted here. Every red light you're at, it is legal to turn right, which would be for Australia legal to turn left, unless there is a sign stating you can't, which is the opposite in Australia, which is you cannot turn unless there happens to be, very minimally, I think there's one that I remember in Sydney where you can turn on a red. But here, it's the opposite. It's just kind of,
Doesn't that open a lot of doors legally? You could argue in court if you're going to require someone to do an action when there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Couldn't you argue that, in this case, I, did a burnout because there wasn't a sign saying don't do a burnout?
Well, weirdly, that kind of came into my wife and I's chat this afternoon when we were walking on roads to pick up my children from their daycare, where someone did a U-turn and we're like, is that legal? And we're like, well, nothing says it isn't. So, like, I think that means over here that you can. So, yeah, I think you're onto something with that. Like, they're more of the kind of reward good behaviour, not punish bad behaviour when it comes to road rules, I suppose.
All right. Well, I should probably make a bit of a tally here of things I'm with and against here. Like enormous beers, tick. Yeah, that's cool. Fine.
Except the way they're stored at the pub or at the bottle. Like it's not great.
Yeah. Well, when I say enormous beers, you said it was a pint in a can, right?
Yeah.
That I'll accept that. I will not accept a meter-long beer because it refuses to get girthier.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's a weird, tall, long kind of like pencil beer.
This idea of do something unless we tell you not to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't get behind that.
But that being said, it is not uniform because one of the things that I miss from Australia is you can drink anywhere unless it says don't. Whereas here, it's kind of the opposite. It's you can't drink anywhere unless there's a sign that says you drink here.
Right, so they're called alcohol-free zones in Australia.
Yeah.
What?
Over here, it's you can drink here. Yeah, it's the alcohol zone. Yeah. Yeah. And all public parks, until COVID in Edmonton, where I'm from, Edmonton, Alberta, it was illegal to drink anywhere, except in COVID, it came in that you could drink there in daylight hours, but I think at the very beginning you also had to register your intent to drink with a local official.
Are people that board in Canada, like bureaucrats that board, that they have to come up with this sort of stuff to keep the work coming through? Red tape style.
You will see a bit of a look into Canadian bureaucracy in my long story today. Oh. Not a very nuanced or well-researched look at it, but you'll see about it anyway. But yeah, bureaucracy seems to be something they enjoy. They've taken from the British in the way that Australia did. There's a lot of similarities, and bureaucracy is one of them. It's weird.
Right. Well, I'm going to move on because that's the first point on my list. We haven't gone very far yet.
Oh, yeah. No, this is going to be a long one / maybe a double episode if people get bored.
Okay. Oak Bay in Canada. If you own a parrot, you could get fined $100 if it talks too loud.
That's odd. Do you know where Oak Bay is?
No.
No? Okay. There's a lot of liquid here. There's a lot of water here. Could be anywhere, really.
But, see, there's going to be some further instances of this on this list where, for some reason, they've made the law super specific when they didn't need to. Like, there are noise pollution laws. If anyone's too loud, that can be an offence, right? Why are we picking on the parrot particularly?
Well, I think this takes it back to the age-old kind of answer you and I came up with when we did this segment of the show, which was it must have been someone's personal beef with someone else that had sway with local government. Like, that is the only answer to so many of these. Like, Dave next door had a parrot that talked too loud some nights, so we had to do something about it.
I suppose these days, with how easy it is to have music creation software and all that sort of thing, if someone irritates you, you can just make a diss track. Or you know...
I wasn't going there with my head, but yeah, sure, you could.
Or bag them out on social media or something like that. Yeah. But back in the day, you had to run off to the legislators in your area and push a very specific law through that was going to piss somebody off.
Specifically Dave next door with the loud parrot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parody Dave.
Parody Dave.
So here's another one, right?
Okay.
This is something you may have some experience in being where you're from, effing cold.
Yeah.
There's an actual law saying you can't have a snowman that's higher than 30 inches.
Yeah. So I too did a bit of research on some Canadian laws today and found that exact one that you're talking about. It's weirdly specific to a certain municipality in Ontario.
Right.
Which again makes me think Dave with the parrot was making super tall fucking snowmen and pissing everyone off.
Or maybe that was a counter law. Maybe the guy who
nice.
Who was annoying him.
We've unearthed a back and forth judicial kind of settling of scores.
I reckon that would be it because maybe hopefully Oak Bay's in Ontario, but you know.
Possibly.
So yeah, he's had a law slapped on his parrot. He's looking over the fence going, I've got to get this guy. I've got to get him.
32-inch fucking...
hanging about. What's he building there?
I built a snowman for the first time this winter.
How tall?
Well, I reckon he was about 8 foot tall.
What?
Yeah, it's
Why?
pretty big. I reckon you kind of...
You getting ladder work?
Nah, just two blokes holding, probably you make a quite large ball. It's only 3 balls, right? So you make
Just roll it up.
Yeah, you roll it around, and then we got it to the point where we needed 3 guys to lift it. Like, it's pretty easy to make the ball. I saw there's one spot, I think it's like tended to by the homeless community, but there's one it's a good, I reckon it's 20 foot tall.
Right.
It's gone now. Recently, the weather's warmed up, so I don't know what's happened. It's a big puddle now, but yeah, it's easier than you think to kind of make a large snowman. 30 inches is a really small snowman.
Yeah, it sounds small. But maybe that's a tourism thing that you guys can exploit too for getting people over from Ontario so they can see what a big snowman looks like.
We can make big snowmen over here. Come make a real snowman. Yeah, I like that. Yep, that works.
So you're saying you didn't need a ladder for your snowman?
No, but we did need to kind of reach to put his carrot nose in.
All right. If you did need a ladder, would you say it would have been a wooden ladder?
Yeah, you get both over here. Some of the old blokes have wood and some have an aluminium.
If you used a wooden ladder, would you have painted that wooden ladder?
I haven't seen any painted ones. I don't know.
That's good. You haven't broken the law.
What, is it illegal to paint a wooden ladder?
In Alberta.
Really?
You can't paint a wooden ladder.
That's very oddly specific.
I mean, I don't want to keep beating this joke to death, but it could have been a counter law. But
also, how pissed off can you get about someone else painting their ladder?
Yeah, I couldn't find any more info about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
And, I suppose we're supposed to take it at face value. You're up in court. Do you paint a ladder? Yes or no?
Yeah.
There's no grey area to debate the magistrate, is there?
No. Did you paint the ladder or not? Yeah, I painted the ladder. What's it to you? That's...
Are there special circumstances, know?
Yeah. What an odd law. That's weird.
Yeah.
I won't give that one the fair enough, though. I can't see why that would...
No, I don't think it's fair enough. That's you can call that bit weird.
Yeah,
and
no, fair enough there.
And pause.
Yeah. Agreed.
In Ottawa, there's a law against the colour purple. You're not allowed to paint your house or garage doors purple.
That's odd. Is it royalty related, I assume?
Oh, right. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, the colour of royalty is purple. I'm guessing something to do with that, but it's a bit of a stretch.
Maybe, but is Ottawa a Frenchy state or a Britishy state?
No, Ottawa is the capital of Canada, and it's the capital city.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, forgive me.
No, don't be. It's the capital of Ontario, which is a non-Frenchy area, okay. But it is probably the kind of most connected to the motherland of all places. But
what do you think of the French?
I tell you,
That's a question on notice.
Yeah, absolutely. The province I'm in, Alberta, very vehemently dislikes the French Canadians, but I think every province that isn't French Canadian dislikes the French Canadians. I've met a few of them, not many. That I don't like them very much. They don't. I've never met one I really like.
I thought you would awkwardly sidestep that question, but you've gone straight in. That's good.
Yeah, I got to play to my supporter base here, which is no, you don't like them. They just seem a little odd. I know I've met French people, and the French people dislike French Canadians. They think they speak a very odd French because it's apparently like a 200-year-old version of French, and it sounds weird.
It hasn't evolved like the motherland language probably has.
I got a nice surprise from my wife the other day. We're going to go to Montreal for my birthday this year, so I'll be able to report back in person how the French are. I'm quite excited to go to Montreal. Yeah. I think it'll be fun.
Try not to walk around with a sneer on your face the whole time.
Is that illegal?
No. Okay. That wasn't a brilliant segue. That was just you said you didn't like them.
No, I hope to have my opinion changed.
Oh, but good.
The ones I've met have been a bit odd. They're a bit odd.
All right. So what about in Quebec,
yeah.
Beaconsfield?
Okay.
Someone can sue you if you paint your house more than 2 colours.
That's 2 house painting colour laws.
Yeah.
It's a bit odd.
So, I don't know. I suppose it might be some people's profession to opportunistically drive around and check the kind of gradients on some of the... Like, you could argue some are slightly different whites, and therefore...
When you
could
say sue them, do you have anything to gain monetarily?
Well,
when
here's
you
my
sue
assumption.
someone, usually one person wins and the other one doesn't, right? And you get money from the other person.
Yeah, but, I see these things... I try and find out if they're bullshit or not. If I can't find any more information, I assume they're true.
Yeah, heck yeah. That's the kind of research on this podcast I like.
And then I start making assumptions. So in this case, I would assume that it's maybe a kind of thing where you could say that house is ruining the beauty of my neighborhood by being too colorful.
Yep.
I will sue them for personal distress.
Personal distress. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you could stand to earn some money then, I suppose. So it'd be worth just going there, driving around looking for houses with, off-white, or one side faces the sun a bit more and has gotten a bit changed, and then sue it, earn some money.
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
It's illegal to eat ice cream on Bank Street in Ottawa on Sundays.
That's odd. Once again, with those ones that finish on Sundays, you usually think it might be religion related. Yeah.
Yeah, that no one's bothered to overturn.
Yeah.
Or no one bothers to police.
Is ice cream like satanic?
I don't know, but if you're an ice cream shop and you're open on Sunday, is that entrapment?
Oh, that's good. It surely is, because ice cream's delicious. Are you familiar with the company Chick-fil-A?
Yes.
Yeah, they recently came to Edmonton. I tried it for the first time the other day. It's fine. It's nothing too good, but it's fine. But they are a heavily Christian restaurant, and they opened a flagship store in the Atlanta Falcons NFL stadium. However, being a heavily Christian store, they are not open on Sundays. 98% of football games take place on a Sunday. So there is a large closed Chick-fil-A at the Atlanta Falcons Stadium. Yeah, fantastic.
That's letting... No, I won't get started on religion stuff.
Yeah, good man.
No. A still existing Toronto bylaw prohibits dragging a dead horse down Yonge Street on Sundays.
I'm familiar with Yonge Street. That Yonge Street, when I say I'm familiar with it, I've heard of it. It's 42 kilometres long.
Yeah, it's long. It's a Yonge long.
Yeah. I think it... I wouldn't really think about it, but I would assume that just dragging a dead horse around anywhere is probably not legal.
Yeah, or at least... you've got to be prepared to answer questions on the topic.
Definitely. That's one of those ones where it's like, okay, that's a little odd, but also, I get that.
You bring in scrutiny on yourself here.
Yeah, it's weirder that you've specified just Yonge Street.
Yeah.
Surely you shouldn't be dragging that horse around anywhere.
What about any dead animal, though? Why specific?
Oh, it's foreshadowing my stuff. You wait.
Oh, is it?
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
No, don't be sorry. It's good. It's teasing.
All right. Again, in Toronto,
a
home may not hold more than 2 garage sales within a year. And each one may not last more than 2 days. I don't know who's having 3-day marathon garage sales, but...
I do. Canadians.
Really?
Yeah, it's a big thing here. I think there are a number of factors that lead to it, but it is a large thing here. Spring and early summer in Edmonton is usually garage sale season, and you can spend pretty much every weekend for a month just traipsing around garage sales. It's large. I think some of the reasons are you have very little way to get rid of anything during the winter. Right. And so and also they don't have hard throw out here, or at least they don't have it in the way that Sydney has it. I love hard throw out in Sydney because to me, when you look at it, when you go out, like some of the suburbs I lived in, like Ashfield, it was like this kind of festival vibe, like religious festival vibe of just a redistribution of household wealth.
Property, yeah.
Yeah, like it was just like people taking stuff from here to there, others like families out together. Like it's fantastic. Like it's such a weird equalizer. It's great.
That's the kind of meaning of community, though, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. But here, the bloodthirsty vampires want your money for it. But no, it is much larger here, and they have, I would say, on a whole, at least the city I'm in, a more conducive to the garage sale garage than we do.
Right.
They are better equipped.
Oh, so purpose-built garages.
Yeah, maybe it's more of a shop that was later turned into a garage. But no, they are very, it's an alley culture here. Your bins get picked up in your alley behind your house. Oh. And you can traipse around alleys and find great large expanses of garage sale.
Yeah. See, you have to be there, I suppose, but I can't really marry up the idea of what I know of Canada to being a big kind of, in parts, sparse country with lots of mountains and ice, etc.
Can't marry that up to the garage sale?
No, to the alley culture.
Okay, all right.
Just talking about.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
I kind of see that as quite an inner city, densely populated.
This is a far kind of more expansive alley.
Right.
It's more of a street. It's wider than a Newtown street.
Right.
A lot of them are, at least, like wider than an inner city street.
Now that's a reference I can understand.
Yeah, right. But they do have some real issues, and this time of year particularly is terrible for being out in them because they are all concave, and your drains, like into the sewers, are in the middle of the alley, and so what happens in winter is that they will freeze and develop about 1 foot to 2 foot of ice and flatten themselves out at the top. So it's just this icy hellhole out there during winter.
So there's essentially a strip of pure ice through the middle of the street.
Yeah, varying because they have not paid as much. So roads are messed up over here, dude, because you do not know, living in a city like the one you live in, the damage that freezing and thawing ice will do to asphalt. It is just a world of potholes. A world of potholes. It's insane, right?
There's too many great titles for me to choose.
A world of potholes? Yeah,
world of potholes, alley culture, meter-long beer.
Yeah, fantastic. But yeah, so there is not as much effort put into the upkeep and quality asphalt work in an alley as there is on a regular street.
Yeah.
And so they just, they're festering out there in an icy way. Festering, to me, indicates hot, but it's not that.
Well, I mean, this is a bit weird, but fair enough. Not Monty's gripes and grievances with his new country.
You came with the Canada rep. You knew where this was going to go.
Let me get through these last couple of laws.
Sure.
Sadly, I wrote this one down, then found out it was a myth. Which is a bit upsetting, but yeah, I saw one that said...
Just cut this bit out. Just cut that out. Let's pretend it's real. Okay.
Yeah, yes, pretend it's real.
Yeah. Well, just cut the bit out about finding it ain't real.
That's the thing people do on social media now to get traction, is put deliberate mistakes in content so that people fire up and think they're smart by pointing out the error, but all they've done is just put a bunch of comments on something that probably wouldn't have had any comments. Kind
of trolling is what you're talking about.
It's trolling for, engagement.
Yes, there you go. All right, what's the law, mate?
In Uxbridge, Ontario.
It's pronounced Ontario, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm posh, though, so...
Ontario.
There
you go.
There's a law that forbids having a Wi-Fi connection faster than 56 kilobytes per second. So, yeah, that turns out to be a myth. But I do like that idea that pretty much dial-up internet speeds, you weren't allowed to have anything beyond that, even to now, but sadly
That's
not true.
odd. And okay, that brings another gripe I have with this fair
Oh,
country.
go on. Yeah, why not?
Wi-Fi here. Everything in general, TV runs off Wi-Fi, computer Wi-Fi and stuff. It's a lot better, right? It's a lot quicker than Australia. It feels kind of more. Yet a storm somewhere far off will fuck it up. Like, it seems really prone to weather-related issues, which I don't understand. I really don't understand. I don't understand how Wi-Fi works, but, like, a windy storm will mess it up, but a snowstorm will not.
Really?
It's very odd.
Yeah, you've come to the wrong place if you want an explanation about that. But it sounds like your network over there is too interconnected.
Yeah, could be the issue, I suppose. I don't know. Again, I really don't know.
Well, right in, though, if you know why wind annoys Wi-Fi more than snow.
Yeah, please. Like, legitimately, please.
Yeah.
I would like to know that. Don't know what I'd do with that info, but I'd like to know it.
All right. What about another law here?
Please.
There's an obscure law in the Canadian Criminal Code, which dates back to the 1940s, apparently. It's illegal to possess, print, publish, or sell a comic book that depicts any criminal act.
Well, that's...
So think about that for a second.
Well, that can't be true. That can't be true. My daughter's gotten into comics lately, and, like, every comic book that we've got involves a baddie doing something illegal, and then the goodie stopping them.
Hence the weirdness of it, in that, how would you ever have a story of any kind?
Well, I suppose there's some pretty weird laws. I've never seen one of the comic book baddies dragging a dead horse down Yonge Street.
That's true. Or Batman in his Batcave trying to push his internet connection faster than 56k.
And also all the snowmen are suspiciously short in the comics. So perhaps it is sticking to the letter of the law.
Letter of the law, well done, because that's the first bit of this quote from a criminal lawyer who says, the letter of the law is drafted sufficiently broadly so that virtually any superhero comic book that we're familiar with today would violate the letter of the law.
Yeah, right? Anything.
So, yeah, bizarre. And again, what is there a reason why you can't just overturn these laws? Does it take too much trouble? Obviously, they're not policed. But can we not get rid of them?
Who would be getting in trouble? Spider-Man? Yeah.
Stan Lee gets posthumously charged and convicted.
Stan Lee dead, is he?
He is.
Makes sense. He was very old. But
he was?
Yeah, okay.
They'll still find ways for him to do cameos, though, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. He'll cameo in anything. He's the Keith Haring of comic books. That's an odd reference.
Well, I didn't get it. I assume someone will.
I feel like Keith Haring's estate will lend his name and artwork to anything, is what I was getting at.
Oh, right. That's it.
Yeah, odd remark there.
Here's the last one I want to tell you about.
Go on.
Oh, well, I mean, it's a few in one, pretty much. These are outdated, weird laws that Canada had. One must not build a mud hut or a house with a straw roof. That's a problem.
Okay.
In Collingwood, Ontario, one must not let their Canadian flag snap in the wind. That's a problem.
How do you stop that?
I don't know.
Take it down when it's too windy?
Or stiffen it up somehow. Like the one they planted in the moon.
Yeah, I suppose that was pretty stiff. Like starch. Starch it up.
Yeah.
That's odd.
Coloured margarine illegal in Quebec, apparently.
Well, you know that margarine is, original colour is grey.
Yeah. Oh, so they've got to sell it grey or not at all?
Grey, yeah. And that's how, I don't have enough info on this, but that was one of the ploys of Big Butter, who legitimately, Big Butter lobbied to make those laws in certain states in America to fight the margarine people because it was cheaper, better, and a better alternative to butter. And so they lobbied them to say they couldn't colour it, so they would have to sell this grey stuff that people didn't like as much.
Oh.
So that I understand that law. Like that's one that's kind of like.
Is that the first one we've ever done that's had a sensible explanation to it?
Probably.
All right. And then in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan,
I know Moose Jaw.
one must not leave a trail of nails, tacks, or glass behind them when they walk down the streets.
Like some kind of satanic... who was the fairy tale that left bread behind them?
Hansel and Gretel.
Hansel and Gretel, that's right.
Yeah, but also, that's called littering.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to leave anything behind when you're walking down the street.
Well, in Saskatchewan you are, if it's not sharp, it sounds like.
Oh, okay. Dull-edged droppings are fine.
Hey, here's one that works too. One of the things that I'm going to tell you about, but I'll just tell you about now, Saskatchewan have a very unique vocabulary for one particular thing. They have their own name for hooded sweatshirts. Right? Everywhere else in the world says hoodie, sweatshirt, jumper, that kind of thing. Do you know what they're called in Saskatchewan? A bunny hug.
Oh.
Yeah, a bunny hug.
Not sure I like that.
Yeah. They are a particularly weird bunch, the Saskatchewanis.
Where are they?
They are pretty much dead centre. They are a prairies province, so they are in the middle. They are very... they're like Alberta, where I'm from, but without oil. So they grow wheat and cattle, but mainly wheat. And it's very, probably one of the flattest places in the world.
Right.
Not
Does
much
it get as cold as there?
Yeah, shit, yeah. Yeah, it gets cold out there.
It sounds like a problem for the wheat, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, but like most farming here, it's only for the summer season that you farm. There's nothing happens during the big snow.
All right. Well, I've rabbited on long enough. Can I unleash you with your weird stuff?
You can, but perhaps can we take a break? I just have to pause there. I'm just going to go grab another beer. Is that all right?
Yes.
This is great fun, by the way.
Well,
it's going to turn into 2 eps. Is that all right? Or
yeah, I think so. That's fine. But also, do you need a forklift to bring that beer in, or will you be all right dragging it somehow?
It's a two-hander.
Well, that bloke was right. This is going to be a 2-part episode. Who would have thought we could ramble on too much, eh? Join us next week for the second part of our Canada is a Bit Weird episode, and if you find that you've got a real taste for Monty after listening to this episode, you can A, go back and listen to some earlier episodes of this podcast that feature Monty. There are quite a few. Or B, check out some of the other podcasts Monty has been on. There's 2 other Angry Chimp productions, Dad Pants, a comedy parenting podcast, and What's the Go, a comedy sport podcast. I throw comedy in there because it's a good blanket term to use to say, don't expect any actual researched advice or analysis here. Comedy equals unprepared and unresearched in my books. There's also Making It Work From Home, which was a lockdown pod that Monty made with his wife, Lindsay. I think it's still available in the potty places. Anywho's toodle pip until next week. Thanks for listening. Join the socials. Tell a friend. All that stuff. Bye. This is an Angry Chimp podcast.